Hi, we're in the next part. Please go and peruse the previous parts before this to gauge where it is that we're at, that you might find your bearings. So my family members then have persecuted me ever since I pretty much made it clear since coming to Christ that I pretty much know what you did last summer. I became like the haunting, the ominous, eerie little thing that knows way too much, and for those reasons they've seen it fit to just kind of plonk me on a cross upside down and burn me, like I'm some kind of a witch or something. They have hidden me. Their entities have sung that rap song, we ain't going nowhere, we ain't going nowhere, it's time for us now. And since I prayed for their collective redemption, they are like, no, you go be with your Jesus if you wanna, but they are ours, and I don't want to be alone. And so the Lord, he provides. Every prayer, ask and you shall receive, knock, the door will be open for you. I am the vine and my Father is the vine dresser. If you ingrain yourself in me, and if you abide in me and I in you, ask anything you want in prayer and it'll be given you. Essentially, I latched on to the words of Jesus, who told me he could give me what I want in prayer, and what I wanted was a big fat happy Christian family. I wanted restoration to my ancestors. My original ride or dies were godly, but one of them tarried, and this is why we're dealing with this cantankerous mess. I've explained at length in some historical blogs of mine, the roots of my family's random insidiousness. Anyway, it started out in a Christian establishment. They got successfully evangelized by the colonizer, and then one of them tarried, and the one who tarried was in the lineage of the grandmother that has given birth to these uncles and aunts of mine that are my dads and my moms and whatnot. Oh goodness, yeah. So basically I got the short hand of the stick. I got born to the sister historically that decided to go and mix Christianity with ancestral worship, ubusangoma, witchcraft, all that jazz. So I am in that lineage. And that's why everything is a mess. The law of diminishing marginal returns over time has had it such that the Christianity has dwindled over time, and what has magnified is rather witchcraft, in the family. So most of the family members subscribe to a combination of African spirituality and Christianity, while only like a little handful of us get born again. My grandmother got saved. One of my aunties who already passed away got saved. The rest are just total pagans. That's what's going on. But that's not okay. I don't want that. I prayed. I'm engrafted in the vine, and I believe in his promises that he will give me what I ask for in prayer. So I got on my knees, fasted, prayed, all that jazz in my very beginning stages of Christianity as a brand spanking new baby. And guys, I prayed for my family every day. On my knees was I on them for almost 1 to 2 hours at a go, just literally giving all of them to God, one by one, their issues, whatever I might encounter alongside colleagues. I just prayed for anyone that I could, right? I got into prayer quite a lot because I believed that it works, because I could see the evidences of it in my particular individual life. The Lord answers prayer, but these things take time. And what then it became of my life, what was rather the result, as opposed to these people all of a sudden, my prayers, the Lord hearing them, and then him sending an angel to sprinkle holy dust on them, and now they're good. As opposed to that, God put me in a journey to get them there. Essentially exactly what happened to Joseph, where the dude got thrown into slavery, and lo and behold, his prayers got heard, his prophecy got fulfilled. A good 20 years later, where now he's the prime minister of Egypt, and all of his family, dad and all, got rescued from a famine because of his earnestness in God. He never let go. He never downed tools. He held on to the king, and ultimately the Lord exalted him. The Father in heaven says of Jesus Christ that something about be at my right hand until I make your enemies a footstool, or something, until your enemies are right under your feet. Well, we can also trust that such blessings are downward inherited into the body of Christ, who we are, that indeed if you are at the right hand of Christ and you hang 10, you literally suture yourself and hold on to his garments and don't let go of his leg like a little child, like walking with the dad when the dad is walking. If you walk like that with Jesus, indeed he will make your enemies a footstool underneath your feet. They will ultimately be subdued underneath you. That has been proven to be a thing that happens to believers, but there's that thing called time. It happens over a long amount of time. That's why patience and endurance and long suffering is a fruit of the Holy Spirit. We need to cultivate it, foster it, that we might be able to wait through seasons of not knowing what's going on. We walk by faith and not by sight, and so when sight is just not working out, we just kind of hope and still strive and press on, because we know what he promised, and that he's not a man that he should lie, or son of man to change his mind, and so therefore what he has promised he will deliver. The Lord did warn me early on that a whole bunch of attack will be coming against my family by telling me in a vision, or was it a dream, I can't recall, some time ago when I was still brand spanking new in the faith, that the Jebusites, the Amorites, the Cushites, the Amalekites, all of those enemies of God are coming against your family. I immediately understood what that meant. Basically, the enemies of God's people, those ites guys, they were always attacking God's people. They were always subjugating God's people to the tyranny of tarrying away from their God through not ancestral worship, but idol worship and what have you. They were God's enemies, and they were infiltrated by a satanic general agenda into God's people that they might turn their hearts away from God. What was the result? Scattered, anti-Semitism. Basically, they got judged. The Lord told them, you're going to get scattered all over the show. Well, the Lord told me that a similar attack on my family, he used the Bible so I can understand what it means, right? I don't subscribe to replacement theology even in the slightest, but the Lord used that because that's what I'd read, and he knew that I'd be able to apply it responsibly theologically to my situation, that it would mean that there will be some outsiders that are apart from my family, right, that would come in and infiltrate their destructive heresies into my family, and as a result scatter, and if they don't obey and resist the darkness, they will then be scattered, much like the Jews who got scattered across the world, and now there's all this anti-Semitism, right? The Lord warned me in advance that would happen to my family members. Now, if you are a Hebrew in Israel in those days, as the only righteous man among a whole bunch of people that have allowed themselves to konza ama Ashereth poles and sacrifice their children and put them through the fire, and you're the only holy man in the land, your name is going to be Jeremiah. You're always going to be crying, and your king is going to be burning your scroll. Was it Jehoiakim or what? He's going to burn your scroll when you prophesy over him. Hey, when you are the only holy man in the land, and your people, or one of the only holy men in the land, and your people are rebellious, you are going to be dealing with followers of Jezebel and followers of Baal worship that are lulled or beguiled to sleep by the prophets of Baal who keep on prophesying lies in the name of their deity, and you are going to be frustrated by them. You're going to be a Moses in the wilderness, okay, dealing with people hooking up a bit of a golden calf, disregarding all the bad, as in BADD, as in so important, so grand promises of God, the obvious miracles he performed in Egypt to get you out, and now you've got a golden calf. You are going to be an Isaiah, okay, a man of unclean lips living among a people of unclean lips. You're going to be Ezekiel, where your head is going to be hard like brass, because your people are obstinate and they don't want to listen. Do you understand? You're going to complain like Habakkuk. You are going to find yourself being amidst an obstinate people. You're going to be Hosea, dealing with a bit of a Gomer. Your wife is ever into harlotry and she just does not want to get her garments clean. You're going to be sad. So I was born again. I was not going anywhere. Nobody can pluck me out the hands of Jesus. I'm effervescent now for Jesus, like Eno in some water. That's who I am. But I'm dealing with family members that are compromised. They are into ancestral worship and all that jazz, and they're not yet convicted solidly. And every last one of them that I try to evangelize, there was this one cousin that I was kind of winning, and she got taken by the tsunami of the rest of them, groupthink. It had a field day with her, and then she ended up being among those who persecuted the living daylights out of me, cracking a whip against a person that Grandshap is the one that's holding the grander whip since I was the believer. So I got ostracized. They went and worshipped demons. They went and sacrificed their children to the Moabite god Chemosh. They put their kids through the fire, and I was then made to live the existential crisis of a sorrowful prophet. I don't Hosea dealing with Gomer. I was made to be Jeremiah ever weeping. I was made to be Noah dealing with a world that just won't even believe that there is a flood coming. I was made to live in solitude and isolation. I was made to, like Elijah, flee to the wilderness because Jezebel has now told me, may the gods deal with you ever so severely if by this time tomorrow Elijah is not dead. I was made to live that existential crisis, and I call it an existential crisis because if you think about, goodness, I have ants just crawling on me because they can, okay, in this environment. But anyway, if you think about Elijah, let's go to the next part now because I'm bordering on 9 minutes and we just TikTok.